Once upon a time, Tab was Australia's biggest and best bookmaker. Not Sportsbet or Ladbrokes. There was a time when no one even cared to place a bet with these companies. But something changed. Tab fell from its glory. Why? They used to be everywhere. In your local pub, club or betting shop, at your local shopping centre. Honestly, their green logo is still instantly recognisable across Australia. But where did it all come from? How did this iconic bookmaker go from humble beginnings to a juggernaut? And now, a third option on a good day. Tab's start come from two independent operations, which were constructed by the New South Wales and Victorian governments respectively, in response to illegal gambling operations popping up across the country. The Victorian Tab began in 1961, and in 1994 it was privatised and in turn listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. However, the New South Wales Tab began operations in 1964 and was privatised in 1998 and had become Tab Limited. Both operators ran in the same way, setting up shops and accepting bets, just in different states. The same blueprint. Their business didn't just include betting shops. They stuck themselves. The Tabs lived inside pubs and clubs. This was a gold mine in the early days, because drunk Patreons could bet away with their hard-earned wages. At its peak, Tab Limited roughly had 2,000 betting outlets and Tabcorp had 500. All of this predated the explosion of the internet. If you wanted to do any kind of betting, you had to do it in person, and Tab was ready to fill that desire. Was all of this profitable? Yeah, it was. Tabcorp alone made over $701 million in profit from 2001 to 2003. Not revenue, but cold hard cash. Take-home pay. They saw their share price explode to well over $10 by 2003. Honestly, they were doing great, at the top of their game. Tab ruled the bookmaking world. But of course, they wanted more, and in 2004, Tabcorp moved to acquire Tab Limited. It wasn't all smooth sailing. They had to win a takeover battle. Unitab, built from the Queensland, South Australian and Northern Territory Tabs, wanted Tab Limited too. But Tabcorp ultimately got the deal done. After it was over, Tab looked unbeatable. A huge retail footprint, entrenched venue distribution across the two biggest wagering states, Victoria and New South Wales. On paper, it was checkmate. Their dominance came from physical distribution. If you wanted to bet, Tab was there. Shops, pubs, clubs, terminals on the counter. But when the world shifted online, Tab doubled down on the old world. In 2017, Tab merged with Tats Group, the same Tats Group that had earlier absorbed Unitab. Overnight, Tab's retail footprint and tote infrastructure become more consolidated than ever. Not necessarily the best app, but the biggest presence in venues and the default option in a lot of places across the country. On paper, it looked like they rebuilt the empire, but as the 2010s turned into the late 2010s, everything began to change. Because betting wasn't happening at the pub, it was happening on the phone. And one bookmaker was built for that world, Sportsbet. The Sportsbet model was different. They weren't built around retail licenses and venue terminals. They were built around online license and a national app. If it was digital, you bet they included it. Paddy Power, an overseas bookmaker based in the UK, bought 51% share of Sportsbet, giving it a massive injection of funds and knowledge. This skyrocketed their marketing and technology advancement. It put Sportsbet into the stratosphere. Unfortunately for Tabcorp, they didn't get the memo quick enough. They had everything tied up with their fixed retail contracts across the nation. No one cared if you could bet in a pub anymore, or in a shop. Why would you? If you could just pull out your phone and do it from there. Tab's empire didn't vanish overnight. To be fair, they still exist today, and are still one of the biggest bookmakers in Australia. They fell from grace, hard. The new world didn't rely on what Tab had. Not only did it rely on fixed infrastructure, but the majority of their race betting revolved around tote betting. If you don't know what tote betting is, it's not you versus the bookmaker. It's everyone versus everyone. All the money from everyone's bets goes into one big pool for that race. Then the tote takes its cut, and whatever is left is split between the people who back the winner. Which means the odds aren't really set when you place the bet. They move around as money comes in, so you truly don't know your final payout until betting closes, usually right as the race jumps. But the consumer no longer wanted to chance their odds. I mean, why would you? You're already gambling, so why gamble more? Again, Tab was hit with another blow. However, in early 2020, the nail was finally put into the coffin, which took Tab from number one to hardly even in the conversation anymore. COVID. The world was essentially already online. The last few people were forced into the digital world. Tab was left in the dust of their competitors who were in better positions. Their share price tanked. Most of the on-track betting companies moved online, which diluted Tab's reach even more. You think about it, pre-existing rental contracts, growing competitors who have better digital infrastructure, and worst of all, there were just more competitors. All of the on-track operators moved to apps as well. No wonder they were going downhill fast. Something needed to change. In May of 2022, Tab announced a major move to de-merge from the lottery side of the business. The two become separate companies once again. The Keno and lottery side is now called the Lottery Corporation. Tab can focus on race and sports wagering, and that they did. Tab tightened everything. Winners were restricted faster. They employed a little trick on the winners called a stat deck, because the Australian government wants to ensure people aren't money laundering through bookmakers. Bookmakers are given the power to request several private documents, namely unredacted bank statements, ID, and to top it all off, it can be requested to be signed by the Justice of Peace. While it's dirty, it works, because if someone fails to supply all the documents, the bookmaker can keep the funds. They weren't bleeding as much cash anymore. Tabcorp also heavily reduced its retail outlets. While it's still a core part of the business, it is no longer a dead weight in an evolving world. The business structure began to mirror what it worked for the competitors. Bookmakers started bribing customers with value. Odds boosts, bonus bets, cashbacks, risk-free multis, it's all the same thing, a discount. A way to buy attention and keep you on the app. And it worked. Tab slowly clawed back the customers who drifted and picked up new ones who had never even cared about pub terminals in the first place. So no, Tab didn't die, but they did change. They went from a company that won because it was everywhere in the real world to a company trying to win in the only thing that matters now, the phone. And that's the reality. Tab's market share has stabilised after years of decline, but stabilising isn't the same as dominating. Unfortunately, the wagering crown isn't a retail footprint anymore. Whoever can get their app open first wins. And right now, for most Australians, that's still Sportsbet. Tab might recover, they might even become a serious contender again. But the old Tab empire, the one built on pubs, clubs, kiosks and terminals on the counter, that version of Tab is gone. The market evolved, and the old bookmaking king was forced to play a new game, the modern game, the game of speed and app. While you may not care if Tab succeeds or returns to its former glory, there is no denying its effect on the Australian betting landscape. Where Tab originally walked, it set the stage for others to follow suit.